Welcome to Colonie TV, the governmental educational channel for the town of Colonie.
So Cameron, tell me how it was growing up.
Growing up for me was it was pretty tough. I grew up with a big family, lots of brothers and sisters, and my parents got divorced when I was in middle school. 7th grade they were separated. 8th grade they were legally divorced, and I think I just used that as a ticket to kind of do whatever the hell I wanted to. Emotionally, I don't think I really could comprehend, how to feel about, my parents, not being together and not having a stable, married, parents under, a household that had two loving parents. So I think I really used that as a means to really go off and do whatever I wanted to. My dad worked night shifts at a young men's colony. This was a prison for underage youth that were in lots of trouble, but he worked night shifts, so that was just, as soon as my dad was off to work, we had the liberty to do whatever we wanted to. So without any supervision, it was just a free ride, And my twin brother and I started drinking with my brothers, my sisters. We all started, we were all close in age, so we all started drinking when I was about 12, 13, so right when I turned a teenager, I was drinking, and that was something that I thought was exciting and new and fresh, and I was experimenting, and I started partying a lot. I was up through middle school. I really started to hang out with those type of people that on the weekends we were finding where the party was at, and we were thinking we were having a good time, And once I got into high school, I had already got a DUI.
Wow.
I was 14 years old when I got my first DUI. The way that the events unfolded, it seems like it kind of was meant to be, like I'd never driven before. I was in the car with my brother and my neighbor, and we had just gotten back from a party, and my neighbor was like, hey, let's take my mom's minivan for a joyride. So I was like, oh, let's, not even thinking about it, not once. I was in the front yard puking my brains out. And then here they come with the keys, and they're like, let's go for a ride. And, we were driving around, and then my neighbor is driving. He pulls over. He says, hey, Cameron, you want to drive? I'm like, yeah, sure. As soon as I get in the car seat, I pull on the road, and there's a cop behind me. And I don't think I was in the driver's seat for more than 2 minutes. And the power steering went out, and then I got pulled over. And so that was kind of the path that I was on from a young age, was troublemaker.
And it was a short path because that's what you were 14 years old when that happened, and then when you were 15, your life really took a turn.
Yeah. I was, at that point, I was getting in trouble all the time, with the law. I was, I was on diversion, and then I was on probation. I continued to party, and by the time I completed all of my requirements for the DUI that I had, I continued to experiment, and it was, I remember all I had was about, I finished everything I needed to do. I just had like a few weeks until I was off probation. And then I was out partying. I was 15, and the night that really changed my life, I was out at this big party, and I came home late, and we used to live across the street from the train tracks, so I never thought anything about it. We were the closest street to the beach, so we were always crossing the train tracks to go surfing, to go to the beach. And I crossed the street to the railroad tracks. There's a memorial that we built for the victims of the terrorist attacks. It was 3 days after 9/11. So it was patriotic. We had shrine of candles, a flag, a spotlight, and I was looking at that, and I, felt sympathetic for these families that were going through their loss of their loved ones. And of course, I did not have any clue the loss I was going to experience, because that was the event that changed my life. I got hit by a freight train. I was so drunk, I was drowsy, and I passed out on the train tracks. And I didn't see the train, I didn't hear the train, and it was right down the railroad tracks. And as it came chugging along, I was blacked out. I wasn't getting out of the way. So it ran me over, and I lost both of my legs above the knees, and my right arm almost to the shoulder. And that, I never thought about the negative consequences.
Yeah, who thinks they're gonna get run over by a train when they're drinking?
Yeah, you just, when you're young, you lack experience, but, I think I had a difficult time, accepting that, every time I drank, it's just a matter of time, until I get myself in a bad situation. I know from experience that, if you put yourself out there and you risk the consequences of so many negative things that can happen, it's just a matter of time until you step over the line. You go a little bit too far, and that's what happened with my twin brother. He got heavily addicted to pain medication, to synthetic opiates, and he wasn't being honest with people, and he was doing, it got to the point where he was hiding it from me and other people, and
the twin brother, I'm assuming you guys were pretty close.
Yeah, my twin brother and I were best friends. So that's the worst thing I could ever imagine, what happened to my brother. And he, combination alcohol and opiates, and that was, that was the day he passed away was 2008, January 2nd. He overdosed, and I found him in his bedroom. You know, I had to break down the door because he had locked the door, and you know, that was the hardest thing, you know, I'd ever experienced. You know, he took it too far, you know, and it's just, all it takes is that one time where you take it a little too far, you know. You do it so many times, you put yourself at risk. It's that one time you go over the line, you know, and that's it, you know, it's over. And for me, I had some really negative consequences, losing 3 limbs, you know, but I survived, you know, and because I survived, you know, I had such a huge challenge that I had to work through. You know, I had to put myself back together, and I had to live the rest of my life with, you know, the consequences of my actions. And you know, I know that today I've done a lot of things. You know, I set goals, you know, I had a plan. I was determined and committed to reach my, you know, my goals that I set. I took action, you know, and I worked with a support system and people that were very instrumental in helping me get my life back on track. And that helped me get to a level of independence and mobility. You know, using artificial limbs, and having functionality in my life that, you know, I never would have dreamed I would be able to get to that level of physical ability, and having the integrity to follow through with a lot of help along the way with people that were that helped me. You know, I know that today I can really say that I'm grateful for what happened to me, you know, because it turned my life around. You know, I would never wish this upon anybody, you know, to have to go through the loss of 3 limbs. But for me, it turned out to be a really positive event in my life. You know, I turned around that negative into something positive. But that's, you know, that's because I made the decision to keep a good attitude and to work hard and to create my life, you know. And so that's when you're faced with adversity and you do something about your situation, you know, that's when you're being a better person, you know. I know that I've become a stronger person, you know, and when people are faced with adversity, you either lay down and you let conditions control your life, and you become a victim, and that, you know, what good is that going to do you, to just sit there and have self-pity and be depressed about your situation, to think that, you know, you're worthless and can't do anything. That's not going to do you any good. But when you can pick yourself up and rise above the obstacles and challenges and do something about your situation, then you're being resilient over adversity. No matter what it is, you know, if it's you know, a lot of challenges, you know, in life, you know, set in the mind, you know, and they can be physical as well. You know, altogether, psychologically, you have a lot of barriers and obstacles to get over. And I think, you know, working together with people that have been there and done that, people that can be a source of inspiration because they're mentors. You know, mentors were a big part of my recovery. You know, I know that my twin brother, um, I want to make his life a legacy, you know, because, you know, that would make his life, you know, serve a greater purpose. And so what I'm doing now about his loss and tragedy is reaching out, speaking to high schools, talking, presenting to youth to help them to promote better decision making, so that they prevent from making tragic mistakes like myself. So I think whatever's thrown at you in life, whatever is going to give you a difficult situation, you know, you can always have a perspective that you can overcome this situation, but you have to do something about it. And I think, you know, there's a number of things that you can do, you know, and I think reaching out and asking for help is you know, is a good solution. You know, I actually have been part of 12 steps myself, you know, and although I'm you know, I'm not very religious, you know, I'm not active in you know, in any religious background, even though I was raised in a Christian family, very strict Mormon family, and I was part of the 12 steps in AA for a long time, for a number of years. I think I was able to reach out and ask for help when I needed it most. And I learned a lot from that, you know. And I know that today, as an individual that has made a lot of mistakes, and you know, I was able to learn a lot from people who were mentors, you know, to me, who showed me, you know, that I could live life, you know, without using any substances, you know. And today, you know, I'm proud to say that I don't use any substances. You know, I'm totally substance free, and that's you know, that was hard to get away from that, because that was a lifestyle I lived for, I mean, the first 10 years of my life. I would say, you know, from when I was 13 to, you know, 23, 24, I was, you know, I didn't put down the drink. I was, you know, I was drinking and experimenting, and you'd think that a train wreck would, you know, stop you from drinking and partying. And I think, you know, it actually took, although I tried, you know, but when my brother passed away, that really, you know, that really woke me up, and I knew that, you know, this is a life that I needed to do something I needed to do something more important with my life, instead of just wasting it. And I think that's the bottom line message, you know, is, you know, life is meaningful, it's valuable, don't waste it. You know, there's so much out there, you know, to apply your energy to focus on, and to give yourself the opportunity to do more with your life than just putting drugs and alcohol in your system. You know, what did that get me? That got me, you know, hit by a train. It, you know, took my brother's life. You know, today I spend my time a lot with my family, my loved ones that I enjoy spending time with. You know, I'm an athlete. I run and swim competitively.
You still surf?
I still surf.
You golf?
I golf.
You DJ?
I ski. I DJ. You know.
What has the accident prevented you from doing, other than ultimately drinking and doing drugs. What has stopped you? Anything?
No, I mean, I think, when somebody, for me in my experience, I think that it really pushed me to, let me see, how can I say this? After my accident and going through some really challenging experiences with, my physical, here, let me, all right, so my accident and losing 3 limbs, that hasn't stopped me from doing what I love. It was very, very hard at times. Imagine losing 3 limbs. It was very challenging. But I think it pushed me to that, the boundary, to the edge of, what I thought, was possible and not possible. And as I was able to continue to progress and not give up on myself, I saw little successes as time went on. I would focus on one little goal at a time, and eventually, I would be achieving bigger things. And I was able to learn to run again, and that was something I struggled with at first.
And they after the accident, they thought you'd never run again.
Yeah.
And it's my understanding within a course of 4 months, you kind of started proving them wrong.
Yeah. Well, if I can reiterate, when you have adversity, whatever it is, you're gonna struggle. You're gonna be frustrated. You're gonna get mad and angry, and you're gonna think, at times that it's the end of the world, and I'm never gonna be able to do this again or that again, and I'm never gonna be able to have a good life, and you're gonna have all these emotions that that seem to give you limitations. But if you stick with it, and you don't give up, you'll see those little successes, and eventually you'll achieve things that you never would have imagined. And I started to run, I struggled, and eventually, I really started to become proficient at that. Swimming, I compete in running and swimming today, in triathlons and athletic events. I've been to the Paralympic trials, track and field. I also, I get up in the mountains and I ski. Love to get out in the ocean and surf. There are things that are so meaningful in your life, and those things that you're passionate about. What are those passions you have? You have to think about who you are, and what I love the ocean, and I never thought I'd be able to get back in the ocean and surf again, being a triple amputee. And what you love, don't ever give up on that, because whatever it is, that it's unique and personal and special, something that's close to your heart, that makes, when you're doing that activity, you absolutely love it. It makes you feel happy. And when you're happy, that's when you're living your life, to your fullest. And that's what I always refer back to, is when you're living your life to the fullest, it doesn't get any better than that.
What would you say to somebody that's still struggling with an addiction, that's just at the point where they feel absolutely overwhelmed and they're just ready to give up, or they don't think they can do it?
I would say, I've had my fair share of partying and just, drinking and using, to, where I was binge drinker and you wake up, you feel terrible, bad things happen, and it seems to be a pattern. To me, I know there is a pattern to my drinking and using, and it always, led to inevitably a really bad situation and a negative consequence. And I would say to recognize, the pattern, and to try to break that that link in the chain, so that you can bring in some better things in your life. Start reaching out to things that will bring good things to your life rather than negative situations, and try to focus on that more. Start spending time with people that that are not partying. If it's if it's getting involved in sports or other recreational activities, or getting involved in some type of organizations, spending time with family members, and also, even 12-step or some type of outreach program, that's a positive, things that are a positive influence, because I know, when you're out there partying, you're putting, substances in your body, and you're getting the same result every time, and you get yourself, really down and depressed, and you feel like there's nothing that you're accomplishing, And so what I say is, and what I think is, why not try life not doing that, not putting yourself into that situation where, you're feeling that way. You're putting substance in your body and you feel that way because you did that for so long. I did that for so long that it brought me to such, a devastating place, and such negative consequences that it never did any good for me. And I think, okay, the realization that this didn't do any good for me, so now I need to try a different way of living. I need to try living a new lifestyle. And why don't you try life not doing that, and really see what that brings to your life, and how that can have an effect on you, and see if it's any better.
Thanks, Cameron.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dean.
Welcome to Colonie TV, the governmental educational channel for the town of Colonie.